Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take that stack of research you mean to read and just, give you the absolute core of what you need to know fast,
And today we're tackling workplace coaching.
which has just exploded. I mean, it's not just for the C-suite anymore. It's a standard multi-million-dollar thing for a lot of organizations now.
It is, and that's created a real headache. You see all these acronyms floating around: CBC, SF, positive psych, GROW.
Right.
And the question is always, if I'm spending serious money on this, which one actually works? Which approach gives you results that, actually stick?
That is our mission today. We are cutting through all the marketing noise and going straight to the hard evidence. We've synthesized a whole body of meta-analytic research, really anchored by that big 2021 synthesis from Wang and colleagues.
So we're showing you not just if it works, but how you can maximize that impact.
Exactly. By understanding the psychological engines behind it all.
So before we jump into the numbers, let's be really clear what we're talking about. This is psychologically informed coaching.
Okay, define that for us.
It's a structured, goal-oriented process. It's delivered by a trained specialist, and they're using proven psychological methods to boost professional performance and personal satisfaction.
And the big distinction here, this is not therapy.
Absolutely not. The focus here is on effectiveness and growth in a work context. It's about unlocking potential that's already there, not treating clinical dysfunction.
And the research has been clear for a while now that this is a really powerful tool. I mean, even earlier meta-analyses showed its value.
They did, and even back then, one area really stood out: a clear superpower.
Which was?
Goal-directed self-regulation. The early data showed a huge effect size, a DEED of 0.74, just in helping people manage themselves and follow through on their goals.
So it helps people close that gap between what they intend to do and what they actually get done.
That's it. That was its first big success story.
Okay, so let's get into the newer synthesis from Wang and company. They looked at 20 high-quality studies and found the benefits fall into 4 clear buckets. And the first one, honestly, the numbers are almost hard to believe.
They really are unprecedented for this kind of intervention. The most powerful documented impact is in goal attainment. The effect size they found was, well, it was massive. G equals 1.29.
A G of 1.29. That's just an enormous number. For anyone listening who isn't a statistician, what does that actually mean in practice?
It means that the average person who gets coaching, who might start at the 50th percentile for achieving their goals.
So perfectly average.
Perfectly average. After coaching, they move up to roughly the 90th percentile compared to a control group.
Wow.
So this isn't just a small improvement, it's completely transformational. If your main goal is just getting people to set and hit targets, this is probably the most effective tool you have.
Okay, so coaching helps you hit the bullseye. But what about building the skills to keep hitting it? What did the research show on the cognitive side?
This is where we get into sustainability. There were really significant improvements in what's called general self-efficacy.
Which is basically your belief that you can actually do the thing?
Exactly, your robust belief in your ability to handle challenges. The effect size there was a strong G equals 0.59, and the mechanism behind that seems to be metacognition.
Thinking about your thinking.
Thinking about your thinking. It's your ability to step back, look at your own thought process, and adjust your strategy on the fly. It's what helps you solve not just this problem, but all the future problems you haven't even seen yet.
That feels like the most valuable piece in the long run.
It probably is.
But for the decision makers listening, they're going to want to know, did this translate to numbers on a spreadsheet? Objective performance.
It did. The effect here was a bit smaller, more focused, but definitely there. A G of 0.24 on objective work performance rated by supervisors.
And that's key rated by supervisors. So it's not just the person saying, I did great.
Exactly. It bypasses that self-report bias. And a G of 0.24, that translates to about a 9.5% performance increase over people who didn't get coaching. That's a solid return on investment.
And the last piece, which feels more critical than ever, is well-being.
Right, because performance without resilience just isn't sustainable. They found moderate positive effects on psychological well-being, a G of 0.28.
And that covers things like stress, resilience.
Stress management, resilience, even reductions in mental health symptoms. So it delivers this dual benefit. You get better performance, and you get a psychologically stronger person who can handle the demands of that performance.
So the verdict is in. Coaching works. Powerfully. Now we get to the really interesting part, the central paradox. the battle of the frameworks.
This is where everyone gets stuck. You've got these big, established schools of thought adapted for coaching.
Let's run through them quickly. First up, the big one.
Cognitive behavioral coaching, or CBC. It's all about finding and changing those unhelpful thought patterns and self-limiting beliefs that hold you back.
Very structured. Then you've got the opposite approach almost.
That would be solution-focused coaching. It spends almost no time on the past or the problem. It's all about the future. It uses things like scaling questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you now?
Right. What would a +1 look like?
Exactly. And the third pillar is positive psychology coaching. This is about finding what's already working your strengths and leveraging those to create change.
And you often see the 0W model layered over these, right? Goal, reality, options, way forward.
Yeah, that acts as a kind of behavioral science backbone for the whole process.
So if you're buying coaching, you'd assume one of these has to be the best, the champion. But the research found something completely different.
It was a shocker. What Wang and colleagues found was that these single method frameworks, they produced statistically equivalent results.
Wait, so CBC versus solution-focused? No real difference in outcomes?
No meaningful difference. The effect sizes all hovered between about 0.39 and 0.57, but statistically they were all in the same ballpark.
That sounds like the dodo bird verdict from psychotherapy research, where they found all major therapies worked about the same. Everybody is one, and all must have prizes.
That's the perfect analogy, and the implication is huge. It suggests that the common factors matter more than the specific dogma of any one school.
So things like the coach themselves.
The coach's competence, the quality of the relationship they build with the client, how clear the goals are, those things become the real drivers of success. You shouldn't be twisting yourself in knots picking a theory. You should be picking the best coach.
Which reframes the entire process. And it leads to the most important insight of this whole deep dive.
It does. Because if the single methods are all equivalent, the next question is, what happens when you don't stick to just one?
What happens when you integrate?
That's where you get the undeniable edge. While the single methods were all clumped together, integrative coaching, where frameworks are deliberately blended, produced meaningfully larger effect sizes.
And let's be clear, we're not talking about a small bump here.
Not at all. It's a massive finding.
Right.
The integrative approaches had an effect size of G equals 0.71. The single method average was G equals 0.45.
Okay, do the math for us. What's the difference?
That's about a 58% increase in overall impact.
58%. Just from being flexible. That is an incredible advantage.
It is. It's like finding out you can get a 58% better return on an investment just by diversifying your portfolio instead of sticking to one stock. The synergy is what unlocks the top-tier results.
So what does this good integration actually look like? What are people blending?
The most common and successful mix was combining the structure of cognitive behavioral coaching with the forward-looking energy of solution-focused coaching.
So you get rigor and hope.
Exactly. And then they'd often sprinkle in elements of positive psychology like strengths work.
Can you walk us through how a coach might actually do that? Because knowing when to shift gears seems like the real art here.
For sure. A great coach might start with a solution-focused approach. It's motivating, it gets you focused on a desirable future fast, it answers, what do I want?
Okay.
But once that goal is clear, what happens? The client hits roadblocks, that internal voice that says, I can't do this.
And that's the cue to switch.
That's the cue. You pivot to cognitive behavioral methods to work on those specific, unhelpful thought patterns that are blocking the path. You deal with the what's stopping me only after you've clarified what do I want. It's a logical sequence.
And it has to be sensitive to the person's environment too, right?
Yes, the best integration takes the whole system into account. The organization's culture, the team dynamics. The coach has to understand the entire ecosystem, not just the individual.
Let's look at a case study. The executive coaching trials really highlight this.
Yeah, that 2009 trial with Australian executives is a perfect example. They used an integrated model CBC, solution-focused, and GROW, all blended together.
And the results were?
They were exceptional. Goal attainment had an effect size of G equals 1.61.
Even higher than the meta-analysis average.
Way higher. But crucially, they also measured things like resilience, which saw a big jump. G equals 0.90. It shows the blend hits both the performance targets and builds the psychological capacity to handle the pressure.
We also see this in things like strength-based coaching.
Absolutely. That Mackey study from 2014 is a great example. Managers got strength-based coaching and showed big improvements in their transformational leadership behaviors.
Because it wasn't just about here are your strengths.
No, it was about blending that identification with the behavioral skill building needed to actually use those strengths effectively as a leader. It's the how to deploy it part that makes the change stick.
Which brings us to a huge, often overlooked factor. The coachee. You can't force this on someone who isn't ready, can you?
No, you absolutely cannot. And Mackey's follow-up work really proved this. Coachee readiness, their motivation, their openness to feedback was a massive predictor of success.
So if you're an organization, maybe your first step isn't hiring a coach. It's preparing the person who's going to be coached.
That's exactly right. You have to build that readiness. Make sure people want to be there. Make sure they understand the purpose. If you put someone who isn't ready into a great coaching program, you're just diluting your investment.
So wrapping this all up, if the goal is change that lasts, we can't just measure performance this quarter.
We can't. The real long-term impact is that cognitive and metacognitive growth we talked about. You have to upgrade the internal operating system, not just fix the external behavior.
So you need to measure more than just the simple metrics.
You have to look at everything. The behavior, yes, but also the self-efficacy, the well-being, the job satisfaction. That's how you know you've built something that will last.
Okay, let's distill this down. Give us the two most important takeaways from this entire deep dive.
First, stop worrying so much about which theoretical brand of coaching you're buying. The evidence is clear. Single methods are equivalent. Focus on finding a highly competent coach with fantastic relational skills. That's what matters most.
And second,
If you want to get past good and get to great, you have to embrace the blend. Integrative coaching, thoughtfully combining approaches, yields substantially bigger results. We're talking nearly 60% more impact. Customization is the key to unlocking peak performance. And here's a final provocative thought for you to take away. We've established that the most powerful driver of sustainable change is metacognition, that ability to monitor and adjust your own thinking.
right, learning how to learn.
Exactly. So if that's the most valuable outcome, how might you change the way you measure success? How could you start measuring that cognitive growth first before you even look at the outward performance? How do you assess learning to learn instead of just checking a box on a 360 review?
We hope this has given you a clear, evidence-based toolkit for your next coaching investment. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.